Athletes considering time-restricted eating face questions about potential impacts on training quality, competitive performance, body composition, and recovery. Crossover trials in trained endurance and strength athletes with carefully controlled calorie and macronutrient intake provide the cleanest assessment of whether eating window compression affects performance independent of energy availability. Testing protocols include maximal oxygen consumption assessment, one repetition maximum strength testing, body composition via dual energy X-ray absorptiometry, and hormonal profiling across training blocks. Current evidence from isocaloric trials suggests that athletic performance remains largely unaffected by eating window timing when total energy and macronutrient intake, particularly protein, are matched between conditions. VO2 max values, time to exhaustion metrics, and strength testing show no meaningful differences between time-restricted eating and standard eating patterns in the majority of well-controlled studies. This finding reassures that the timing of nutrient delivery matters less than total availability for supporting training adaptations, at least when eating windows remain reasonably aligned with training sessions and athletes consume adequate total nutrition. Body composition changes similarly show minimal difference in isocaloric comparisons, with muscle mass maintenance and fat mass remaining stable regardless of eating pattern when protein intake exceeds recommended thresholds around 1.6 grams per kilogram body weight daily. However, several practical considerations complicate real-world implementation. Athletes training early morning who adopt time-restricted eating often struggle with timing pre-workout nutrition if their eating window hasn't opened, potentially compromising training quality through inadequate fuel availability. Evening training sessions may fall outside eating windows, preventing optimal post-workout nutrition timing that many athletes and coaches value for recovery and adaptation. Sleep quality shows variable responses, with some athletes reporting improved sleep with earlier eating cessation while others experience hunger-related sleep disruption. Hormonal responses, including testosterone and cortisol, show subtle shifts in some studies, though the magnitude and performance relevance remain uncertain. Athletes in weight class sports may find time-restricted eating helpful for weight management phases, but must carefully avoid implementing protocols that compromise training energy availability. The practical recommendations for athletes emphasize individualization and careful monitoring. Recreational athletes seeking body composition changes might experiment with time-restricted eating as a calorie management tool, recognizing that any performance or recovery effects likely stem from total energy availability rather than timing per se. Competitive athletes should approach cautiously, ideally during base training phases rather than competition preparation, with close attention to training quality metrics, recovery markers, and body composition. Eating windows should be designed around training schedules rather than forcing training into arbitrary windows, prioritizing fuel availability for key sessions. Athletes must consume adequate total calories and protein within their eating windows, a challenge when windows narrow substantially. Most importantly, any eating pattern that compromises training quality, recovery, mood, or performance should be abandoned regardless of theoretical metabolic benefits. Athletic performance and adaptation depend primarily on training stimulus, recovery, and adequate nutrition totality rather than the temporal distribution of intake within reasonable bounds.